everyone. We'll give 2 more minutes for others to join and then we'll start. Hi everyone. So shall we start? Um, I think there are 4, 6, 8 people. Yeah, it's okay. We'll start. I'll put the first question on the screen. Yeah.
It may be sonography.
Yeah, because I would prefer you put it on the chat box and then we can discuss it. Yeah?
Okay, fine.
Thank you. All right. So some of you are saying A, some of you are saying C, and some are saying D. Yeah. So all right. I'll just tell you the answer. It is C. So yes, I know it's called spectrogram, but that's the technical term. But there's another term for it. It's called sonogram as well. So it's a graph where you have both the frequency, time, and amplitude. Um, yeah. So yeah, can someone tell me how is this graph created from an oscillogram or a power spectrum?
It's using a Fourier analysis,
Yeah, Fourier transformation. Yeah.
but I don't know anything about it
That's
except
okay.
for the
That's
term.
okay. We also need to just learn the technical term for it. It's okay. Even I'm not very sure of what exactly it is, but I have like the very vague idea. But yeah. So I think I think we can do it in Excel as well. I have been taught to do it in Excel, but I can't repeat it right now. But yeah, I mean, if someone reads through it, I think we might be able to get a spectrogram out of it. Yeah, the second question is on the screen. All right. Let's see what the answer is. So the answer is B. So I think most of you knew that tracheobronchial syrinx is for passerines, which is the dual syrinx. So it sits somewhere in between the trachea and the bronchi. And yeah, and there's something called the tracheal syrinx, which is found only in the ovenbirds and wood creepers. And the bronchial syrinx is the usual the owls and cuckoos and nightjar, which have a very different kind of a call as well. So yep.
Sir,
Yeah.
why did you mention about owls and
Sorry. Sorry, I couldn't hear you, Govind. Can you repeat that again? Why did I mention about owls? So anyway, this question was in one of the lectures where they said that this particular hormone is required for the song to be crystallized and it to reduce song plasticity. Okay, so what did you mean by owls and nightjar syrinx? No, I said, oh, I said it's in trachea, no? The sorry, the bronchi, the yeah. I didn't particularly say anything um, about the owls and the nightjar calls. I mean about the sirens. It's just that it's in the bronchial part of the windpipe.
so it's further along with song question, sir?
Sorry, Govind, I really can't make out what you want to say. Yeah, let's see what the answer for this is. The answer for this is testosterone. It has been discussed in the lectures as well. This particular hormone is required for the crystallization and reduction of sound plasticity. People do understand what song crystallization is, right? I mean, apart from Govind and Ruspe, can anyone else tell me what song crystallization is?
So what does it mean by reducing this song plasticity?
Can you tell me what song crystallization is first, if you can? Tarun, sorry. Okay, anyone else wants to try the answer? All right, Govind and Ruspe, if you want to go on, go ahead, please. What is it stuck? What is stuck? Can people hear me?
Yes, yes, you are.
Yeah. All right. So I was asking, apart from Rusbe and Govind, somebody else wants to explain what song crystallization means? I mean, I'm assuming Rusbe and Govind, you know the answer, so that's why I'm not answering you. I mean, not asking you to answer. Yes. Astagimat. Yes, you want to answer?
Yeah, it is the process of achieving the typical songs for the birds during the development.
All right. Yeah.
So
So,
in a way, it is a maturation of the songs,
all
can
right.
say.
So, what would reduction in song plasticity mean then?
So the variation will not be much.
Yeah. I mean, there would be variation, of course, between the populations and stuff
I
like
mean
that.
to say, like during the development, further variation will not be there.
Yeah. So basically, they'll have one particular individual or two particular individuals who would be the model individual whose songs they are trying to copy, the especially the chicks. So while copying, they'll have some kind of sub song. I mean, I suppose everyone has heard of that term. Sub song is basically the babbling in the birds. It's very similar to like how babies babble. They won't be able to say the full word properly. So that's how it is for birds as well. And later on, once the song crystallizes, they the variation from the model song or the model individual reduces, and it's very similar to what they've been hearing since the birth. So that is what reduction in song plasticity mean. Plasticity is basically the property of being changeable. So reduction in song plasticity would mean that the song wouldn't change anymore from the model individual song. Anyways, yeah. Yes. How do you pronounce your name? Sorry, Astagimat.
It is Ashtagimat, sir.
Astagimat. Okay, so I wasn't very wrong. Hi, tell me. You've raised your hand. Do you want to say something? Or Govind?
No, sir.
Oh,
No,
oh,
sir.
it was Govind.
It's not me.
Govind, do you want to go?
Yes, sir. My question was, what is the point of song plasticity?
What's the point of?
Song plasticity.
Go- Songs? Sorry. Am I the only one who's not able to hear Govind? Govind, if you can put it in the chat box, it would be better. The point of reducing song plasticity. Um, so within a population, you'll have to have some similarity between the adults so that the females can understand it's a song for them. I mean, um, otherwise, yeah, if the females don't understand, then it doesn't make sense for them to sing, right? I mean, that's the whole point of reducing song plasticity. So it's from a female point of view as well. And the other males, like competitor males, can also understand. Otherwise, you're just a loner who's singing something that nobody understands. So, I mean, in a very layman term, that's how it is. I hope that answers your question. Anyways, so this question was quite an easy one. So bandwidth is basically the high frequency minus the low frequency. So so when the bandwidth is very low, that would mean that the to help in comparison. Sorry, Govind saying to help in comparison. To help in comparison. Yeah, yeah, well, seems so. So when the bandwidth is low, that would mean that the bird doesn't have a very varied repertoire of song. They'll have a narrow, bandwidth. They have like one or two frequencies or like a very narrow range of frequencies that they cover. So that's the narrow bandwidth. And when the bandwidths are very high, that would mean that the bird is going from a very low frequency to very high frequency, and it's covering the entire song space basically. So yeah. So before we jump into this, does anyone want to uh, define what avian duetting is? I mean, what is duetting?
Duetting is one when one bird sings, the other bird responds and sings along. That's duetting, I think.
So, so if a male sings and the other male responds, that's duetting.
No, female, I mean to say.
Yeah. So, what is a male singing and the other male responding? What is it called?
Mimicry.
No, 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 no. Mimicry is heterospecific, right? Mostly. Like it's
Not mimicry.
between.
That I'm not getting the word.
Okay, it's called. Anyone else knows what it is? Like a male.
Jovil, I think it's eavesdropping.
No, no, it's not eavesdropping either. Eavesdropping is again something related to mimicry, but no, no. If a male
Okay.
sings in a territory and the other male immediately follows and sings their song, what is it called?
Challenge. Is it a challenge?
What is it, Govind? Govind is challenge. No challenge. Yeah, it is a challenge. I mean, for the other male, but there's a technical term for it.
Song matching.
Yes, yes, Priya Shivram. Thank you. Yeah, so it's called song matching. Basically, male starts singing, and immediately after the male starts singing, the other one starts singing as well. So it happens in a lot of passerine birds. I'm not sure if it happens in any other family, but yeah, I can be wrong. So yeah, anyway, so and the avian duetting is basically a male and a female. So there is a song, and one part is started by a particular sex, and the other part is finished by the other sex. Currently, I mean, it's said that the male is the one that starts, but For a lot of birds, it's not known which is the sex that's actually starting the song. All right. Can people hear me? The internet's just gone. Sorry, can people hear me? Sorry, the internet's bad. It's just I just had a power cut. Can people hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
All right. So yeah, so avian duetting is like I said, a song in which the first part is sung by one sex, the other part is sung by particularly the partners, the other partner, and it's a very common thing even in Indian birds, and the famous examples are Indian scimitar babbler, and one in the north of India, it's Abbott's babbler. It's also got a duetting song. Um, I'll just change my network. Let me see. Okay. And yes, so the answer is answer is So definitely happens in the first three: Abbott's babbler, Palani laughing thrush, and Indian scimitar babbler, and not been seen in Ashiprenia. So yeah. How what can be the reasons for avian duetting? Anyone? I mean, what can be the possible reasons? I mean, there are like 5 or 6 reasons. I can't tell you all of them, but can people guess what could be the possible reason? Greater connection, courtship. Yeah, courtship is one really good example. Greater connection, as in greater connection between the pairs. Like, is that what you mean, Govind?
Yes, sir. Greater connection between the male and female. Male in case it's like monogamy.
So greater connection in what, like something like a physical connection, emotional connection. I mean, I'm sorry, but what is it that you mean?
A greater connection between the male and the female, sir.
Yeah, so the technical term for it is called pair bonding, where the pair gets to know where the other part of their couple is. So if the male has gone like some few meters ahead, then they'll exactly know in a dense forest where the other where the other partner is. And so that's the avian duet. That's one of the reasons for avian duetting. Communication is another. Sending signals, I suppose it's the same as pair bonding. Reproductive synchrony, yes, that's a possible answer. That's actually a good answer, Saptarshi. Yeah, mate guarding, yeah, that's a very important answer. Basically a male trying to guard the female or the other way. uh, it's not very clear in the Indian birds. No, I mean, very rarely have people studied avian duetting in birds of India, so probably that's like something someone should actually take up and study. And so Indian scimitar babbler is one of the commonest ones. Palani laughing thrush seen in Western Ghats, the mountain tops of the Western Ghats. Abbott's babbler in the northeast hills. These are some of the common ones. Anybody else knows any other bird that does avian duetting in India? I couldn't think of any. All right, next question. Okay, people know what Dicrulidae family, what are the birds in Dicrulidae family, right? Yes, drongos. Strigidae family. Rusbe, apart from you, can somebody else answer? I'm sorry, I I love your enthusiasm, but yeah. Yes, Mark Steve says owls. Perfect. Menuridae, anyone can guess apart from Govin and Rusbe? It's one of the popular bird that is known for its mimicry. That it's so popular. I mean, it mimics car horns and factory horns and all kinds. Yes, lyrebird. Yes, Menuridae is lyrebird, and Mimidae is mockingbird, thrashers and mockingbirds. Not found in the old world, but it's found in the new world. So I guess everyone knows the answer now. Yep. So the answer is Strigidae. Not vocal mimicry is not, at least not found ancestrally in the family of the owls. So yeah. Next question. So someone was asking, why do birds kleptoparasitize? So this graph is an answer actually. Why do birds kleptoparasitize? At least for one particular drongo, it's called the fork-tailed drongo in Africa. So they are known for kleptoparasitizing, and this graph actually tells you why it'll kleptoparasitize. So basically on your x-axis is the morning and the evening time categorical variable. On the y-axis is basically rate of biomass intake. Don't worry about the log part. It's just so that if there is a huge difference between the biomass intake, the log actually reduces the scale and makes it palatable to see in the graph. So rate of biomass intake. So what you see is in the morning, when the bird is alone, like your drongo is alone, it has less of a catch, but it has high of a catch when it is following other species. But in the evening, the variation between both the situation is actually very similar. So what does that tell you about? Okay, let's not talk about drongo. What does that tell you about insects in general? So people understood the graph, right? I mean, is there a problem in understanding the graph? It's about drongo, and it's fork-tailed drongo in Africa. Can people hear me?
Yes, Jobin, you are perfectly audible.
Okay. So yes, Vedang says insects are more crepuscular. They're able to evade being captured by birds more effectively in the evening. Wow, okay, that's an interesting theory. Insects aggregate in particular places in the evening. Okay, so everyone's focusing on the evening part, but not in the morning part. So basically, insects are not very active in the morning. That could be the simpler reason, right? I mean, people. Is anybody here not a birder, or also a butterfly watcher or something like that? Oh, yeah, you can talk. Astagi mat. Sorry, it'll take some time to get used to. So yes, so people who study birds, butterflies and orthopterans like grasshoppers or something, they usually don't go early in the morning because insects are not very active early in the morning. They usually get active once the sun comes up and there is enough um, sunlight in the surroundings. So basically that's somewhere around 9, 10, more better after 10. So yeah, 8 to 10, 8 to 9. Wow, okay. Yeah. So that's when the insect population, I mean insect numbers are less. And yes, I'm not sure who raised the hand, Saptarshi or Astagamit. Do you want to talk? Please go ahead.
Jobin, I have a doubt in this graph actually.
Yeah. Tell me.
Here in the biomass section,
Yeah.
While calculating the biomass,
Yeah.
we have to only consider the amount of carbon and nitrogen, only these two elements.
Where is it written?
I am talking from ecological perspective, only carbon and nitrogen.
Why do you say that?
Because in the living organisms, these are the most abundant element, the carbon and nitrogen.
But I'm not sure.
I am not sure, Jubin. I am just asking.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the study has been done in that sense, because usually once the bird has caught the animal, you can just barely identify which insect it has taken in its beak, and that's it. And it will be taken in. It will be ingested by the bird, so you won't be able to know how much carbon and nitrogen. Basically, if it has, I mean, you can do it in several ways. Like we had one study where we looked at the parental provisioning by one of the starlings, the Malabar starling. So we took a high zoom camera, and we used to click photos whenever the parent used to come to the nest, and we will get to know the animal or the prey of the bird through those photos. So I mean, one can look at the paper and see what is the exact methodology that they have followed. But I'm not sure if it's possible or it's feasible to just know carbon and nitrogen from such a methodology. So I think they must have just figured out the size based on the beak size. So they could have figured out the size of the animal, size of the insects, and if they know the species, probably the weight of the species, and from there they must have deduced how much biomass has been intaken by the drongo. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Saptarshi. It's not really possible to do carbon and nitrogen only from.
Thank you, Jobin. Thank you.
So yeah, let's look at the answer. Actually, I think it would be a little. Okay. So the answer is B. Kleptoparasitize in morning. Forage more when alone in morning. It's untrue. It forages alone. When it forages alone, it actually gets less of biomass. A is wrong. C is chances of getting insects by foraging alone is less in the evening. Actually, that's also, I mean, it's not significantly less. It's less, but it's not significantly less as well. So that's also wrong. So B is wrong, was actually kleptoparasitize in morning. I hope people now might be knowing what kleptoparasitism is. Does anyone wants to explain what kleptoparasitism is?
It is the phenomena where it makes a mimicry call, where the other bird leaves its food and goes for the hiding. Many times it gives the call of threatening calls or something, alarm calls, you can say. But then it grabs the food or prey of the other bird.
Okay.
It is a kleptoparasitism.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand how this graph will explain this part.
I mean, so basically the graph is, saying kleptoparasitism is one of the options that can be possible. So what happens is, how does it work in the morning for the animals is because a lot of insects are inactive in the morning. So it needs some of the animals to actually glean and look at the underside of the leaf to churn out insects. So when the insects get flushed, some of them take to air, and that's when the drongo swoops in and catches the insects. So that is so basically for that to happen in the morning, the leaders of the mixed flock have to glean on the ground or on the bark. So that's how kleptoparasitism is more common in mornings. So yeah, I mean, it's the B's more plausible answer is what I'm saying.
Hi Jobin, this is Mark here.
Hi Mark.
Yeah, I understood your explanation.
Yeah.
But the graph really doesn't point to B. I mean, if there's kleptoparasitism happening, that means that the drongo should be following flocks of other birds. So it should not be foraging alone, right? There has to be some other species nearby for kleptoparasitism to happen. Otherwise, who is the alarm call going to deter? How does all of this relate to the graph? Your explanation, how do you draw this conclusion by looking at this graph exactly?
Okay, so do you see the options? Did you understand that A and C are not possibly correct? And assuming if A and C are not correct, then D is also not correct. So B is a plausible answer.
Yeah, I mean, we can't this is not, these answers can't be by the process of elimination,
Why
right? That
can't they be?
this is the only
Why?
right answer, that
No,
because
no.
all the other answers are wrong.
Yeah, why can't they be
Uh,
by the process of elimination? I mean, you can get any kind of question.
okay.
I mean,
But
I'm serious.
isn't the graph short? Isn't the graph kind of? Shouldn't the graph be conclusive in what it's trying to report?
I mean, that is okay. What is why is it? Why do you not want to follow the process of elimination? That's like the biggest thing. I mean, I follow it every time. That helps me every time in all the exams, and I have done pretty well in a lot of exams. So, I'm just asking. I mean, the graph has to be has to say everything for you to be able to answer the question. Is what I'm asking.
No, that's not what I'm getting at. Is the graph doesn't specifically state the answer.
Yeah, but the graph does say that A and C are wrong, and D is wrong, so it can tell you B, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Anyways, I mean, Mark, if you do look at GATE exams, GATE ecology and evolution GATE exams, you'll find a lot of questions that depend on this process of elimination and not exactly on giving you the exact answer what they require. A little bit of thinking would help in these things. I mean, little bit of out of the box thinking. So, I mean, I'm just saying. I don't know what your goals are. Do you even want to pursue this course? I mean, but from a point of view that I have taken these exams and I have cleared some of the exams. What I understand is process of elimination is not bad if you, yeah. Some of the questions are not as direct as possible, or as could be. Yeah, Govind, you were saying something.
Sir, I didn't quite get the graph. Could you explain the parts of the graph?
Okay, so the graph doesn't provide for plausibility, but B is the closest possible answer. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so the x-axis is basically a categorical variable morning and evening, and the y-axis is the rate at which the biomass, the food biomass is ingested, and what it says is when the drongos are foraging alone, the bio in the morning, so the biomass intaken is less than when it is following a species, and in the evening, basically both the amount of biomass intaken is similar, so there is actually no difference, like at least a significant difference between the two. So I mean, so definitely it's not A, C, and because of A and C being incorrect, it's not D. So there is something. I mean, if you know how drongos behave, so kleptoparasitism is very common in drongos. We just learned that in the last question. So it just says that they can kleptoparasitize more in the morning, and this paper actually talks about that the kleptoparasitism doesn't happen throughout the day. It's more common in the morning, and it's usually more important for the bird because in the mornings, the number of insects that they can catch in the air, because it's a sallying bird, the behavior of the bird is sallying. It's a sallier. The insects are less in the air, and that's why it depends on kleptoparasitism in the morning more than the evening. Yeah.
So how is A wrong?
Sorry, Govind, can you repeat that?
How is A wrong, sir?
forage more when alone in morning. A is wrong because they don't get to feed more in the morning, right? It's they feed more when they are following species.
Well, at least my observation is that since insects are less abundant in the morning, they're less active in the morning, the drongos have to forage more in order to find insects.
Oh yes, you're talking about the okay, yeah, but they don't find more in the morning, so they'll rather follow species. But yeah, yeah. Anyways,
Well, that's the impression. I mean,
all
so
right,
they forage harder in the morning. That's my thoughts on the first one.
all right, yeah. Anyways, I'm going to the next question. Yeah, so deception stops working when deceptive signals occur too often related to their honest counterparts. What is one technique used by mimics to overcome this? Yeah, so most of you said the answer is C, and you got it right. So yes, I mean, the the mimic. Sorry, yeah, the mimic cannot cry wolf over and over again, and they'll be called out eventually. So what they or the technique that some of the mimics actually use is change the signal a bit in the form of I mean it could change the frequency or something of the signal, or change the predator it's actually mimicking, so that might help in continuing the mimicry and continuing whatever, like it's kleptoparasitism or mixed flock species behavior, or yeah, these are the two things that I can think of why they mimic. So yeah, example. I did say, like they, I mean, the racket-tailed rongos are known to mimic a lot of predators. So changing from one predator call to the other call can actually, so like, I mean, they can mimic a lot of raptors, even ground ground predators like cats and uh, so if even if they change the predator that they are mimicking, that is just changing the signal. All right. Yeah, most of you have answered B. Some of you have answered A. Yeah.
Can I take a crack at the explanation?
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I guess the goal is to continue courtship again. So it can't be a predator because that would kind of scare the bird away instead of keeping it in play. So that's why it has to be a mobbing flock.
I mean that seems a very simple, very straightforward explanation. But yeah, I mean it could be a mobbing flock, and but mobbing flock is actually a sign of a predator itself, right? I mean, uh, like a mobbing call is basically it's mostly the birds mob another predator. I mean, could be a raptor or a ground predator or something like that, like a snake or a cat. Yes, go ahead.
Why? Why are
It may be to ward
flocks-
off a competitive one itself, right?
Yeah, but
Maybe a
wouldn't
competitive male for that female.
yeah. I
Sir,
mean,
is it to show off the diversity of their vocal abilities?
no, so this happens at a particular point of courtship. Like whenever the females are trying to get a break off, like it's written break off courtship. Basically, whenever the females are trying to move away from the from the male, that's when the male tries to call this particular this mixed species mobbing flock. The call is made only at the end of this courtship. So, as Mark says, it's probably to continue the courtship, and the female doesn't leave the territory or leave the home range of the male, and that's what the answer is. Like, yeah. So, if it's just the diversity of the kinds or the repertoire of the calls, then it can happen at any time of the any time of the courtship, right? It can happen at the beginning, not particularly at the end. But yeah, this whole process happens only at the end of.
But then, why are the mixed species mobbing flocks sounds that are mimics, sir? How does that help in keeping the female in place?
I mean, okay, there was an explanation to this. Just a sec.
Because the females will be threatened by the other species, and for cover, she might come back to the male again.
Yeah, it's basically harping into this anti-predatory, behavior of the female, trying to avoid the predator. So.
But doesn't that apply to pee as well?
Yeah, but the animal doesn't make that noise, right? I mean, make that call, right? It doesn't happen. It's not making that call. So it can apply if it makes that call, but that's not happening in nature. So then, Govind, you get it right?
So lyrebirds are unable or unwilling to make predatory noises, so they do it indirectly by making mixed species noises.
I don't know if they're unable or unable, so they don't make a predatory call, but they rather make a mobbing call, which is a sign of a predator around. But for God knows what reason, it's just one of the behaviors, and people have tried to do a study on it, and they realize that this only happens at the end of the courtship, so probably so that the female doesn't leave the territory, and that's all. The study might have speculated why it happens, but the study is there. I mean, it's been mentioned in one of the lectures, so you can take the if you go through the lectures, you can get the particular study that the professor is talking about. But so.
Sir, I might have an explanation.
Yeah, go ahead.
If the lyrebird makes the noise of a predator outright, then the female might be scared away. But since it makes the noise of a mixed species mobbing flock, it signals that even though there is danger, that there is safety in numbers, so the female has a higher chance of sticking around.
Possibly true. Yes, that's what Mark also said, right? Possibly true. Yeah. Anyways. Yeah, there's an explanation to it.
Jobin, can I give some perspective here outside of this?
Yes.
So,
yeah.
lyrebird, I am assuming, belongs to the family Phasinidae. And most Phasinidae species, when threatened, they actually don't couple together or stick together. They kind of split into different directions, find the nearest shrub, and kind of lay low.
Hey, I thought lyrebird belongs to Menuridae, no? Yeah. Which is Phasinidae? I'm not sure. Huh?
Sir, is Menuridae the family or the order?
It's the order.
So is Phasinidae the family
Family.
or it's
Order is
another order?
Passeriformes. Passeriformes. It's the family, Menuridae.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that would not apply to this. I thought it would be in the same family as peacocks and few other birds, but that's not true.
Oh, the pheasant. Oh, yeah, okay.
Because of the displaying of the tail,
Yeah,
I kind of
Yeah.
clubbed it together with Phasinidae, but that's not right. Yeah.
So what are the closest relatives of lyrebird, sir?
That you can Google up now, Govind, rather than asking me. I can only Google up. These are all Australian birds. So yeah, actually lyrebirds have only two species. What are the species called? Yeah, superb and Albert's lyrebird.
So they are closest to
There you can check the tree of life. I am not sure what's the closest, but the closest is this. I'm googling by the way. I don't even know all of the birds. So, yeah, I can't figure out. No, I can't. I can't. But they are passerines, which is strange, which is good actually. They were thought to be galliformes, like as a part of jungle fowl, pheasants, and peacock, but they aren't. And yeah, I can't. Closely related to scrub birds, Atricornithidae, or bower birds. People might have heard of bower birds, right?
yes, sir.
Yeah, anyways, this answer is C, I've already explained. So basically, the female stays in, and the male is actually harping on the anti-predator behavior of females to stay away from the predator. So that's why the mobbing.
Does it apply only to lyrebirds, sir?
This particular feature, yes. But yeah, but I mean, nobody has studied all the birds, I mean, as thoroughly. So probably there are other birds also that actually uses this, but we will never know. I mean, somebody has to study every. Yeah. Anyways. Sorry, I was running out of options in A, B, and C, so I might have used some very silly option, but yeah. I mean, one more thing I want to say. I mean, some of these. I mean, definitely not every of these question is coming in your exams or whatever. This is just one way of exposing you to certain. I mean, certain aspects and certain. I mean, some studies that have been already done, and yeah, the way I'm forming the questions and the technique of getting to the answer might not be the best, but at least you get to learn what these the studies talk about. I'm just giving you like the, I mean, yeah, the gist of the abstract and pasting it over here. So yeah. people have answered A might be surprised with the answer. The answer actually B.
Yes, sir. Lower frequency sound travels better in clustered areas like forests, right, sir?
Yeah. So that is because they don't tend to get diffracted by the foliage. Uh, Foliage, yeah. But also the same thing happens over here in the like higher frequency. The songs get reflected and they start cancelling each other. The direct call and the indirect call cancel each other, and that's why the transmission is reduced. But in lower frequency songs, this cancellation doesn't happen, and actually the song transmits better closer to the ground. So birds with lower frequency of songs have use a perch that is closer to the ground. So one can look it up in this particular study by Nemeth and Rinkler to look at it further.
Sir, could you explain the question a bit?
Yeah. What do you mean frequently calling birds? Low frequency calling birds. Oh, like a dove, for example, laughing dove. They have very low frequencies. So, yeah.
Owls would have a very low frequency.
Owls also have a low frequency. Okay, so sympatric assemblages of Asian barbets. People know what barbets are dash in both morphological and acoustic traits. So basically, the question is sympatric is basically assemblages is just a group of birds. Assemblages could be a community also. So a community of the community of barbets in Asia, basically. Sympatric is basically living in the same region or living in the same biogeographical area. So they have they dash in both morphological traits would mean the traits of the body, like how big they are, how small the beak is, how large the eyes is. These are the morphological traits. And acoustic traits are basically the traits of the calls of the birds. So these patterns are consistent with the role for competitive exclusion in driving community assembly. So if people have heard of competitive exclusion, it basically drives the community to be slightly different from each other, so that all of them can be accommodated in that space, be it acoustic
Resource
space.
partitioning, right, sir?
Resource partitioning, yes. Dr. Vedang, yes, doves and owls sit in tree canopies, right? But yeah, this is based on acoustic adaptation hypothesis, and it doesn't exactly sit well. But some birds with low frequency, there is an example that is coming. Some birds with low frequency actually pick a lower perch, and one of the reasons people say is because their calls travel yeah, travel further. But one of the reasons, not the definite reason, but one of the reasons. People are still speculating. People have heard of acoustic adaptation hypothesis, right? Is it a choice of perch between two songs in the same bird, or two different birds? And two different birds. We'll come to that question. Okay. People want to guess this question answer. What is it that you don't understand in this? Sorry, I have to. I thought that was like a direct question, direct answer. So barbets have certain morphological and acoustic traits, and what this question is asking is, are these morphological and acoustic traits very different from each other or very similar to each other? And then this question is also giving you a clue that there is a role for competitive exclusion, that like resource partitioning. So resources over here could be the acoustic resource, like how much frequency. So we have learned what is the bandwidth. So certain birds can take one particular bandwidth, like one frequency band, like say from 2 kilohertz to 3 kilohertz. Then the other species, because because the resource partitioning has to happen, so that the conspecific communication can happen, and it's not interfered by other species calling. So what they can do is partition their calls between a different bandwidth. Say for example 3 to 4 kilohertz, or 1 to 2 kilohertz, or 0 to 2 kilohertz. So that is one of the so yeah. Asian barbet is a species, that they mean all species of all species of barbets in Asia. It's not a species.
So, if I may, what exactly do you mean by consistent with a role for competitive exclusion? So, does it mean that, I mean, they are consistent with a pattern of competitive exclusion that is seen in the assembly?
Yeah.
Okay.
These are not my words, huh? I mean, these are the people who have written the paper. But yeah, I mean, you understand the gist of. The paper is by Anand Krishnan. He's been working on barbets for a really long time, and this other person called Krishna Priyatamma, she also works in Azim Premji, but yeah, she works on diverse taxa. I have known her to work on rodents, birds, and plants, grassland. Yeah. So B. Let's see what the answer is. Yes. The answer is B. So Asian barbets, you should look it up. Google up Anand Krishnan. You can type in acoustics as well to make the search a little narrower, and look up this paper. And there they have actually shown a graph where most of these barbets, their calls have been marked, so you can see how divergent these calls are, and morphologically also they are very different, and possibly the reason for that is competitive exclusion. So
So another example would be the Galapagos finches, right, sir?
yes, that is adaptive radiation. Yeah, but that is adaptive radiation. Yeah, I mean they all sound and seem very similar to each other. Adaptive radiation is basically one ancestor, and it has diverged into, because a lot of niches were open, and yeah. bioarchive. No, not this one. I'll send you the paper. I'll just see if I can find it. It's not in bioarchive. It's actually published. Nope. Yeah, it is. See if you can download this. So this is another paper by same lab, Anand Krishnan's lab, where they have looked at the Prenia species of I think the peninsular India. Yeah. So there they found. So there they looked at. There they looked at the number of times each particular species was sitting at a perch, and they noted the heights, and they found that each of these species have a different liking or different inclination towards sitting at a particular height more than the others. So like you can see, the first one is sits at a higher sits more at a lower perch, and the last one sits more at the higher perch. So again, I can send you the paper, and let me check where the paper is. Yeah. So this is the paper. You can go through it. Okay. Could this vary with the habitat geography? No idea. This would vary based on the species under. I guess C could be the answer. Use space A. So basically, they couldn't find out a particular reason for why this height partitioning within these species. So they have. So basically, the answer is all of the above, I think. Yeah. So they have speculated a lot of these reasons. So first of all, competition for higher song perches is basically some of these birds, the ones sitting on the higher perch, are usually one of these birds is usually a larger bird. So they could basically bully the other birds to sit on a lower perch. That is one possible reason. That's what they have said. Then maximize sound propagation by minimizing. Yes, that could be other, because some of these birds have different, like two species have intermediate bandwidth, and one species has a very high bandwidth, like a higher bandwidth, and the second species has a lower bandwidth. And I think conclude causality from this observation alone. Yes, no, it cannot. There is a lot of experimentation required, and that's what they will be doing afterwards. So that's what they're saying. So I mean, these are the possible speculations that they have come up with. None of them could be their sole answer, but yeah. I didn't know, Vedang, you could give these heart symbols while on Gmeet. That's so cool. Thanks, by the way.
I was intrigued by the use of the name wren warblers because I remember that earlier, I mean, much before the standardization of names by Grimmett and all that, we used to call them Eshy wren warbler and plain wren warblers.
I had absolutely no idea that Prenias were called wren babblers. So this was new to me. I mean, I read that today. So, yeah, I mean,
I thought that these were outdated names. So I was surprised to see that. I don't know if that trend is again, I mean, to call them wren warblers because the paper is very recent.
yeah, paper is very
2020.
recent. And Anand is actually a thorough person when it comes to names and all. So I'm not sure why why he would choose wren babblers again. But yeah. Okay, the next question. Astagimat, did you raise your hand?
No, sir.
All right. Oh, okay. Okay, I think most of you got the answer right. It is actually conspecific and heterospecific. So the call that is directed at conspecific is basically it calls all the other drongos at one place, and the song that is directed at the heterospecific, it calls all the other members of the community, bird community, and that is basically to form a mixed species flock. So yeah. This is again from Samira's paper, so if you want to look it up, you can. Oh. So everyone knows or everyone has seen Jungle Babblers, right? I mean, people who are who have been beyond South India, they would know how Jungle Babblers look. And I mean, they are also found in Maharashtra, Pune, and all. So this is again a study from Manjari's lab by Sonia Yambem, and what she's done is she's studied jungle babblers in the campus, and she's figured out that there are like 15 kinds of vocalizations in this bird, out of which 8 are usually in the context of vigilance. Yes, it is a very interesting topic, and I mean that's like a lot of vocalization only for vigilance. And why would that be? The probable answer is let us see. Because jungle babblers are cooperative breeding, and it's not just seen this particular like this disproportionate investment of vocalizations towards vigilance is not just seen in this particular bird species. It's usually a very common phenomenon seen in meerkats, seen in I think there are more examples that they have talked about in the paper. I think you can do look it up. I mean, it's Manjari Jain's yes, Govind.
Sir, how does cooperative breeding have anything to do with vigilance?
Cooperative breeding are usually group living birds, and like most of these group living birds or animals as well. Meerkat is a mammal, so they all have to have some kind of communication. So basically, uh, yeah, I mean a lot of I can come up with a lot of answers like kin selection, blah blah blah, and all that stuff. So all of them can come over here, but I mean.
So since they are more social birds, they have a greater need to warn their fellow members. Eh?
Yes. More social birds, and some of them become the sentinel. One or two of them become the sentinel, and most of them feed on the ground without actually much focus on vigilance for a long time. So the sentinel bird has to keep a lot of vigilance, and vocalization is one way in which they do that. They have these particular calls while they are vigilant, while they are being a sentinel. They keep calling in that particular tone, and that particular call. I mean, it's repeated continuously, and when they are repeated, most of these group members usually don't bother looking up, or usually don't bother being extra vigilant. They continue foraging on the ground, but as soon as the call changes, they know that it's time for them to hide in the nearest bush. So yeah, I mean it's a yeah, cooperative breeding that leads most of the cooperative breeders are also group living birds, and group living birds also have this kind of a distribution of a task that they have, distribution of work. Like some of them are sentinels, some of them never become sentinels. So that usually follows one on the other, and that's why they have like a lot of investment on the vocalization, particularly for vigilance. I hope that answers. Yeah, Vedang is saying possibly due to the greater development of vocalization in general for the community dwelling animals as they engage more into communication. Yes, yeah. Actually, what the Manjari's paper says is 15 is actually a big number for a community living animal, bird or a mammal. And actually a big number, like 15 different kinds of vocalization for a particular. I mean, we as humans, we have like millions of words now, but yeah. All right. I think it's time for the next question. Yeah. So this statement also comes from Manjari's same paper, the same Sonia Yambam's paper, and so they set out to look at the number of vocalizations that the bird has, and also they started looking at what are the different kind of function for these vocalizations. Do that also determine the structure of the vocalization? The structure of the vocalization would mean like, is it a high frequency? Is it a low frequency? Is it like a is it like a call or a song with a very high bandwidth? Those are the structure. That is what a structure of a call mean. So the hypothesis is this, where they think that the calls produced in similar behavioral contexts, which are like functionally similar, should have should have calls that are also structurally dash. Okay, please share the link. Actually, you guys should actually look up all the professors and their papers. Yes, I can share the paper. Let me just. Yeah. See if you can download this. So yeah, let's see the answer. So yeah, what Morton's prediction is that similar calls for similar functions would have similar structure. So so the function could be different. Like function could be vigilance, function could be mate, like a song for mating. Function could be like different functions one can think of in a bird, and yeah. So what is it that they find? Let's see from the next question. Yeah. Sorry, I was out of option. So D is an option. Yeah. Trying to make a question out of this statement, and yeah, D might not be the best option that I could come up with. Oh, so Vedang is asking, what does agonistic and affiliative context mean? Agonistic is basically a context where two parties are working against each other. Like they don't see eye to eye. They don't, yeah. And affiliative is basically they're working together. So agonistic is basically the other party is seen as an enemy. And affiliative is the other party is seen as a friend, an ally. So, oh, antagonistic. Okay, I'm not sure, but again, these are not my words. Took it from the yeah. Agonistic is also a word striving to overcome an argument. Like, so basically, it's like a contest between two parties. So
Not sure, but I think Dr. Manjari had used the word agonistic in the video also.
Oh, she has,
Not
probably.
antagonistic.
Yeah. They're both Greek in origin. Mark says filial is friend. Sorry. Oh, affiliative filial, yes. And agon is conflict. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, most of you have said C sometimes. Some of you have said A. Some of you have said C. Yeah, but what the study finds is actually A. No, they don't follow Morton's prediction. So what they find is some of the jungle babblers call which are more affiliative had a harsher tone. Like harsh would mean that it has like a very huge bandwidth, like some like a like yeah if the song is of a huge bandwidth, it's covering a lot of space, then that would automatically become harsh. Like if you see a crow's call if you see the spectrogram of a crow's call, it will actually cover a lot of bandwidth. And in opposite, some of the agonistic context has a very high frequency, which is which is what they found in jungle babblers. So yeah, I've already copied the study, the link of to the study. Probably you can go through it. So this question is about mimicry in particular lark species, not in Indian lark species, and they're looking at what all species are the larks mimicking, and based on that, yeah. Yeah. Vedang, the answer was given by Mark, so it's not a problem. I mean, as long as you can discuss the answers, discuss the question, sometime it should be okay. So, okay, I'll tell you a little bit about the study. So, what they did was they looked at a lark species. They had two things. They had a transect and they had a site. So one transect, one site would have several transects. So in each transect, they looked at they noted the calls of lark, and they noted down what all species is that particular lark mimicking. And so basically they also did a bird survey in that particular transect. So then they have two data that they can compare: the birds that the lark is mimicking and the birds that are actually present in the transect. So yeah, and similarly, if you go to a larger scale, the birds that were present in the site and the birds that the lark is actually mimicking. So what they find is this. What they find is when the species richness of these transect of the site is high, the number of species that the lark mimics is also high. So mimicry performance improves in localities characterized by high species richness. But what they also found is the heterospecific song acquisition, which would mean that the mimicked song from other species, it's not usually does not usually follow it doesn't usually follow the ratio of proportion. Like for example, say we have 100 species, 100 individuals in that particular transect, and 50 of them are crows, and 25 of them are pigeons, and rest of them are other species. So technically, what by proportion wise, what should happen is the mimicked songs of the lark should have 50% of crows songs, 25% of the pigeon song, and rest of them proportion wise of the other species. But that is not what happens. And what is happening is a completely different figure. What's happening is they are the songs mimicked are usually not taken from a smaller scale. They are taken from a larger spatial scale, which is the scale of the site, not a transect. And that's what the answer says, that high and larger. So larks are matching diversity at a larger spatial scale, probably storing experience of interspecific encounters throughout their life. So probably they might not have seen or heard the bird in their immediate past, but they might have heard the bird long before, but they remember these calls that they are mimicking, and that's why they have larger repertoire, but not dependent on the species in their immediate transect, but species in the immediate site. So yeah, they just vary in the degree of objective. Okay. I hope people got this question. Any doubts about this?
Sir, you mentioned they're not mimicking the proportionately the amount of species in the area, but focusing more on diversity in a larger area, right, sir?
Yeah.
This doesn't
So there
apply
was a
to
high
larks.
proportion.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, so if there were large amount of crows in an area with larks, instead of simply having a larger amount of crow mimics, they'd expand their range and look for greater variations.
I mean, they don't look for it. They just absorb. I mean, is what I understand. I mean, they're not. I mean, when we are saying look for, I hope not everyone is thinking that they're actually looking for other species. It's just that, yeah. Some of the.
I didn't mean actually searching for. I meant.
Okay. Yeah, Mark, you had something to say?
This study doesn't apply to larks found in India, right? Because
actually there is a study by someone called Viral Joshi, but he has done a very similar study. I don't exactly remember the results of the study, but if you guys know Viral Joshi, Viral Joshi, you can look up his study. I don't have the link to the study right now, but he has also worked on larks and their mimicry. Yes, Vedang.
I had another question. So once you're done with the explanation, I'll go on to it. I don't want to disturb you.
All right. So yeah, I mean, if you like to see if this similar study has been done on larks in India, then you should check up Viral Joshi's paper. You can just Google him, and you'll find that paper. Viral Joshi Lark. There would be one paper in front of you. Yes, Vedant, go ahead.
Yeah, so in my observation in the field that I've seen, larks, I think I've seen a Malabar lark and an Oriental skylark. Both of them engage into a lot of mimicry. So these birds, when they mimic, it is like I don't know. It depends on a lot of situation, I suppose, environment and what the bird feels and all those things. So how I was just interested to know if it was possible to find out or tell on this. If you could tell on this, how the researchers found out in what context the call was made, and so as to substantiate that a certain the proportions were not matching, because the cause of call, say if a lark has to make the call of a lapwing, and it has to make the call of a crow. Okay, I don't think it does, but lapwings I've heard it doing. So in what context would this call be made? Was that studied or identified? Wouldn't that matter and affect the frequency of all of these calls?
I mean, yes, but the study doesn't require you to. I mean, the study was basically looking at the species richness of the birds that are being mimicked and species richness of the birds that are in the immediate surrounding. So that is all the study. That is all what a study is doing. I mean, of course, you can go beyond it and ask other questions, but probably for this study, that's all they wanted. They didn't want to know the context of why the bird was mimicked. As long as the mimicked song matches very well with the model song, so I think that should be enough for them. Most of these are done on your spectrogram, and they see that how much the mimic and the model song match properly. So
Okay, fine, thanks. I'll go through the study. I'll see if there is any.
yeah, also look at Viral's work. So probably you'll find a little more about Indian larks. Yes, Govind.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to propose a hypothesis to Mr. Vedant's question. The context, I think, might be for mating purposes. The reason.
Or the context of mimicking, you're saying.
Yeah. The reason lark species place such a high priority.
No, it needn't be true. I've seen individual larks. Govind, if you don't mind me saying this, yeah, there are lots of explanations that have even been given in Madam Jain's lectures. So she said that one of the reasons why the repertoire is into place is because it is used in mating. Repertoire, the chances of the mating and the receptivity from the female is for the male. But in case of larks, although this would also hold true, I've seen larks making calls without any other bird being in presence. I don't know if there was some lappings or other things, but I've heard larks making calls without any other individual of the same species being present. So I'm saying that the occasion could vary, and thus the records that are made would be based on the occasion, and that might not be studied in this case, being a compounding factor. That was my question, actually.
Yeah.
Well, apart from mating, it could also be for territorial purposes.
Yeah, Govind, there could be several reasons, but yeah, like I said, I mean, the study was looking at something else, so they didn't need to know the context.
Well, I just feel logically territorial purposes and mating are the two most likeliest scenarios, because otherwise they wouldn't place such a high priority on a variety, on diversity of repertoire, right, sir? If it was for something like, if it was something related to foraging or using or piggybacking on other species, they just specialize in one or two species. They wouldn't place high priority on variety, right, sir?
Possibly, yes. Yeah. Oh, there is one more question. Yes. The last question. I think the study doesn't match the reference that I've given. This is the study. Huh? Sorry about the options. Sometimes it's quite difficult to get options like that are wrong when it's actually so straightforward. Anyway, so we have 1 more minute left for the session to end. So I'll just give away the answer for this. They learn and adapt. For more information, you can look at this particular study. It sounds familiar? Question mark. Acoustic similarity provokes responses to unfamiliar heterospecific alarm calls. So what the so basically, if all alarm calls are usually useful for other heterospecific individuals as well, and that's why shouldn't they be structurally similar is what the question was, and what they tried to find out is no, they are not all structurally similar. Some of them, like the alarm calls of fairy bird. I forgot the name of the bird in this particular fairy bluebird. So no, not fairy bluebird. But anyways, superb fairy bird. Okay. So in that particular species, the alarm calls were not similar to other species alarm calls, and that's because but they still responded to it because there was some aspect of learning also involved in it. And the paper also talks about a lot of other species that especially in macaque and langur species, the adults are able to decipher that a call is an alarm call much better than a juvenile, which might still be learning about what these calls mean. So the alarm calls need not be acoustically similar or structurally similar, but species actually learn about the context of the alarm calls once on field, or once like not on field, but once they come across it and see the other animals responding to it. So that is all this study was about. So yeah, fairy blue rain also from Australia. Yes, Mark. Sorry, thank you. Anyways, that's the end of the session. I hope it was.
What was the bird you mentioned right just now, sir?
Fairy blue
bird?
rain. Yeah. Just yes, Mark, you had
Okay,
to say.
thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super
Hi, Jobin. Last question before we close. This is the first session I've attended. If we have to access these sessions, are they listed anywhere? Are they listed on YouTube?
Yes, I'll be uploading this particular. I mean, I have been recording it, and they'll be uploaded on YouTube. It's my channel. It sounds like I'm actually a influencer of some kind, but no, this is part of my PMRF, like the fellowship that I get. It's part of this then obligate duty that I have to do. One of them is this, to have 2 hour session and record them and put it on YouTube. You can find me. I think I posted my channel before as well. Just let me do that again.
So, Jobin, just confirming if only the ones which you have taken, the sessions would be there, or even the other ones, the problem-solving sessions would all be on your channel, or we would have to refer to some other link for those?
Only the ones that I have taken, and
Okay.
if you know Chitti is also doing the same thing. She's also a PMRF fellow, and she is also uploading videos. I don't know the link to her YouTube channel, but probably if you go to YouTube and type Chitti Arvind, you might be able to find her.
Sure.
Yeah, Arvind. This is how her name goes. So you can Google that up. What is that Google Doc? Oh yes, that's yeah. That's that Google Doc also has all the links. Yes. Thank you, Mark. So, anyways, thank you all for coming and yeah, staying till 8 o'clock. Thank you. So, yeah, bye. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you, Jobin.
Bye.